Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys Marvel Disney Plus series 1/6 scale figure unboxing and review. Today we are taking a look at Captain America from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I got mine from toyswonderland.com. Link for that is in the description below. They do have installment plans and a reward system. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon and join button so you're notified as soon as a brand new review goes live on the channel. As for the box art, not sure if you can tell on camera, but this isn't a normal sized Hot Toys box. No, this thing is huge. It's very tall but kinda slender. Up front we have an image of Cap, and no, that's not the actual figure, that's Anthony Mackie in the suit from the show. We've got Captain America's shield, then the Falcon, and the Winter Soldier. On the side of the box, the rest of that image from the front, and the entire thing is done in this rough texture. We also have some glossy sections, mainly for the text and these wings. It says Captain America, the Falcon, and the Winter Soldier. On the back of the box, more of that textured finish and some glossy stripes, plus all the warnings and legal info. On the top of the box, no way, who would have guessed, once again, the show's logo, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. On the back of the box, underneath the top cover, I just slid it on off. I dig the red packaging and the white logos. It kind of looks like the Air Force logo, the wings on the star, then maybe Captain America's shield, or the Winter Soldier logo, I don't know, they've both got stars, let me know down below. Ooh, we're so close. Up front, an open window showcasing Sam Wilson himself. I cannot tell you how excited I am. So, without further ado, for those of you who don't know, I really enjoyed this show. I had a ton of fun, and when Sam stepped out on screen for the first time as Cap in this suit, oh, I knew we're getting a figure and it is going to be stunning. First in-hand impressions, it's that and a whole lot more. It's vibrant, the white is popping. What we are going to do now though is get all of his accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Starting off with the display base first, luckily it's the hexagonal style. I was so worried because of the huge wingspan they were going to go with the diamond one because they want to keep him planted in the display, but luckily a non-issue. This display base is small, but it's weighted. That means it should be nice and planted. Up top we have Cap's shield, the red sections are textured, whereas the middle section with the show logo is nice and glossy, a good contrast. Around the front, Captain America. Up top we do have two flight poles, one for Sam Wilson and the other for Red Wing. Sam's one does have a spring-loaded waist clamp, whereas Red Wing's one has this teeny tiny peg on a hinge and swivel. Although I should clarify, the swivel component doesn't come from the hinge, it comes from where it pegs into Red Wing. Now Red Wing himself, he does feel relatively fragile. This plastic is quite thin, so please be very careful. The sculpt work is super crisp, including this fan underneath and the exhaust up top. And the paint application's stunning. You've got metallic silver, metallic red, and multiple different colors for metallic blue. Plus some gunmetal underneath, and washers in the crevices. Around the front, a teeny tiny gun, but there's no moving pieces. This guy is completely static, which is in stark contrast to his wings that do have a bunch of moving pieces. Now, we won't be addressing all the articulation here and now, because I need to keep you watching somehow. We're going to do that later. Jokes aside, the wings are dope. I love the sculpt work with the various patterns and panel lines and textures, like the hexagons down below. And the paint applications, they match Red Wing, suitably metallic. And in this larger size, it practically glistens. When the light hits it, it is glorious. They've added some airbrush shading and some speckling, not necessarily battle damage, more so some extra surface detail. One thing that I don't love though, this piece right here. Now I understand why they left it unpainted plastic, but this U connector, surely you could have painted that, Hot Toys. There's plenty of clearance, it's not rubbing up against anything. But they left it unpainted, so it's a bit of an eyesore. And around the back, if you're wondering, ooh, how do they connect to his backpack? It's a big honkin' ball peg. I am worried though that these pieces are clear plastic. fingers crossed they stand the test of time. But only time will tell. Now, the piece that they plug onto on his backpack is right here. There is some sculpted detail here, not sure why, because it gets covered up by a panel anyway, but pleased to see at least something. It is unpainted grey plastic, and there are 2 massive ball joints. I will show you how this all works when we get Sam out here. What's Cap without his trusty shield? So of course, he does come with one. And for the first time by Hot Toys in 1/6 scale, third-party companies have already made this, it's the new MCU shield. Compared to a retro classic, but not that old shield, it's the one from Endgame. Now, the size and shape, identical. The finish is very similar. They still have the same stupid clip mechanism which breaks all the time. This one on mine is unfortunately broken. But the new thing, we have these little notches and the panel line. Plus the panel lines for the star are different. Not a huge difference, but still, it is an upgrade. The colours are a touch more vibrant. I dig the satin finish for the blue and the red. Plus, on the silver, there is a brushed effect, but it is very subtle. In person, you can see it a whole lot better. Now, to attach this to Cap's back, we have this clear little piece of plastic. It's a hook, and I will show you how that all works, don't worry. And lastly, a full array of hands. We've got closed fists, we've got open palm hands, we've got gripping hands, and of course, action style pose hands. The gloves look good. They are white and red with a bunch of dirt and grime on the surface to bring out all that sculpted texture. Then for the fingers, even the nails are painted. Now the nails do stand out a little bit too much in my opinion, but at the very least they are glossy compared to the matte finish of the fingers. What we are going to do now though is get Captain America himself out here. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses, or accessories, or shields, or wings. That stuff is coming later on. Right here and now though, the first thing that comes to mind is holy proportions, Hot Toys. This guy literally looks like a real person shrunk down to 1/6 scale. The suit on top of the body is beautiful. There are multiple textures at play. It's mixed media. There are rubbery plastic pieces, there are fabric pieces, there are spandex pieces, but for the most part, it looks spot on to the show. Then, even from a distance, I know y'all can tell that head sculpt is 100% Anthony Mackie. Will this suit evolve as we see it more in the MCU? I don't know, but right now, I'm so freaking happy. Up close and personal, kicking things off with Cap's head sculpt. I've already ranted and raved about the likeness. I mean, y'all can see that, right? That looks like Anthony Mackie through and through. I was still a little bit worried though. I saw the prototype and it was amazing. The hair was very finely textured, the goatee looked real, and you could see the eyes through the lenses. So there were potentially multiple points of failure. Usually when it comes to final product versus prototype, there is a drop in quality. Sometimes a lot, and sometimes a little. With this guy, I think there's barely been any. This head sculpt is genuinely that good. It might just be one of Hot Toys' best head sculpts ever. I know I say that a lot, but isn't that a good thing? That just means they're getting better and better and better. Now the hair, awesome, very finely textured, and that fade is on point. Unfortunately though, there is a subtle seam line up top, not a deal breaker, but something to be aware of. Also, his goggles, they're not removable. You can see his eyes through them, they're quite optically clear, but for this version, they are fixed in position. You can see his ears poking through the mask. There are a mix of textures and colours, grey and white, and there is a seam line between the neck piece and the top of the mask. In the show it was a one-piece deal, but in 1/6 scale, I'm glad they didn't do that. It still looks seamless from the front, but now that they have added the split, maximum range of motion. Around the back, you can see some ribbing on his mask, but we're not here to talk about that. We want to see the backpack. I'm not going to pop the wings on just yet. It's coming up. I know I keep delaying it, but we're going to need to do it eventually. I love the metallic silver and all the various panel lines, plus the metallic blue. And there is a little slot up above. If you're wondering, ooh, what's that for? Well, it's pretty simple actually. For those who guessed, oh, it's something to do with Red Wing, no, it's for his shield. It's for that teeny tiny plastic clip that we discussed in the accessory segment. You slide it in, then slide the shield on, and it's holstered very nicely flat along his back. Now, to accomplish that, you do have to remove the hand strap, and that little clip slides underneath the base layer of the strap. Super tricky to do. What I would suggest doing is removing this plastic clip, sliding it under here first, holding it in place with your thumb, then pushing it into the backpack. Because if you try and slide it on as is, these clip pieces will bump into the backpack and make your life way more difficult than it needs to be. Back around the front, peep those proportions. I don't need to say anything more, y'all can already tell. The big shoulders, the traps, the narrow waist. Yeah, it looks suitably realistic. Up top, he does have some straps on his traps. I am so sorry. They're metallic silver because they're part of the backpack. He also has some metallic stripes with multiple different panel lines on the chest plate, which is rubbery plastic. I was worried that the color was going to be super different compared to the rest of the suit, but all of the rubber pieces match, the belt, the chest plate, the gauntlets, so I'm pretty sure even though there is a subtle color difference, it was supposed to be that way. I could be wrong, correct me if I am down below. His shoulder pads are also sculpted rubbery plastic, a ton of texture, and multiple different colors. Then for his abs section, typical Captain America, red, white, and blue, plus a little bit of grey for good measure. On his arms, some darker grey, lighter grey, and this middle section is made of this rubbery fabric. The blue sections are normal fabric, so when it comes to posing, we will have to wait and see. Is this going to be great for posing or terrible? I don't know. His gauntlets are sculpted plastic once again, and they kinda remind me of his Falcon suit, which I think is what they were going for. This would normally be a open panel so you can see the suit underneath, but it isn't. It's fully sculpted and painted. Coming down to the pants, yes, they're pants. It's not a onesie, it's a military suit. We do have a sculpted belt with a decent amount of texture, and it is movable. You can slide it up and down. Around the back, we have a panel of stretchy spandex. Why? I don't know, but it's great for posing. I'm glad it's here. We also have various different straps and panels all sewn together, but it works. It looks nice and seamless, but does add a ton of visual interest at the same time. All of the blue parts are just regular fabric, whereas these grey strips and the white, rubbery fabric, just like the upper torso. The knee pads are separate floating pieces, but they are in the correct position, on his knees. Down here for the boot guards, there are some little thrusters around the back, that's why they look somewhat armorized, just like Falcon. And just like the gauntlets, and the backpack, and the belt sections, at least the metallic parts, nice and shiny. They're also a split-cut boot design for, you guessed it, maximum range of motion. I dig the sculpt work on the boot with these little clasps, they tie the entire look together. Then on the underside, some sculpted and surprisingly painted tread. In order to install the wings, it is pretty simple, but kind of fiddly, especially when it comes to taking off these panels. Take your time and follow the instructions. You can see there's a little gap there, and that's where you're meant to wedge your fingernail under to remove these side panels, and you do that for both sides. Now that we have them off, you can simply remove the middle panel. Then you want to bring in this double ball peg unpainted grey plastic thing, 3 pegs in the middle, and some clips on the outside. Now the best way I found to do it, because this side for some reason likes to fight me, is to start with that one first. So I apply some pressure to that side, then apply pressure to the other side, and it'll snap in position. Now that it's sitting nice and flush, we can bring this back panel in and pop it over the top, so all you have left to do is put the wings in, which is quite literally as simple as plugging in a ball peg. Now it's a very big ball peg, so you do want to give it a solid push to lock it in position, but when you do, it's on there very securely. Y'all can see this, right? This wingspan is crazy. Compared to the figure, this thing is wide as hell. Now, the wings themselves do have some honeycomb patterns down below and various other textures. Dig that. The metallic finish plus the airbrush shading is on point. What about articulation, I hear you ask? Well, it's pretty good. We've got that ball joint around the back for up and down, forward and back, and you can kind of tilt them, it's entirely up to you. As for bringing them around the front for that one pose with the shield on top though, not super easy. We do have ratchet joints at this section, more ratchet joints at the middle, and you can also hinge them up and down. So bringing them around the front even more, and also with this last joint, you can't really make that cap shield circle. Now, potentially, if you are willing to force them and finagle them more than I am, you can do that, but they do feel a little bit fragile, so I'm going to be careful. They also do have this pre-posed swoosh in, so that does help a little. I was worried that around the back, this would look so ugly, they would stick out too much, they would protrude and be very cumbersome. But this kind of works, it's not overly bulky. Plus, from the back, it does look like they formed out of the backpack. These look like the side panels we had to remove to pop the wings in. Now, that being said, they do get out of alignment when you pose the wings, but if you just want him standing there, wings spread, showing off the incredible wingspan, yeah, it looks good. If you're thinking shield on his back while his wings are on, that would be a sick display option. Yes, it would. And it's possible, it's super easy to do. Now, instead of using this base strap while removing the hand strap and sliding the clear plastic piece underneath to keep it nice and tight to his body, that wouldn't work here, because as you can see, there's not enough clearance. That clip simply doesn't stick out far enough. So instead, you leave the hand strap on and pretty easily slide it over the clip. Now there's enough clearance, it sits in position, and like I said, it's a sick display option. For a quick side-by-side comparison, it was a tale of two Captain Americas, one from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and the other from Avengers Endgame. Sam Wilson on the left and Steve Rogers on the right. Both of these suits are the closest to comic book accurate we've ever seen on screen, and in 1/6 scale, they complement each other pretty well. Although, for some weird reason, Sam Wilson is taller than Steve. That is going to upset some, but come on, you're not going to display them together. By the time Sam was in his suit, Cap was an old-ass man. I know, such a cop-out answer, but still, for me, it's not a huge deal. Something that is a huge deal is completing a lineup. In the show, there were other main characters worthy of 1/6 scale figures. But for Hot Toys, I guess there weren't. Thank goodness for Toys Era, they have done what Hot Toys wouldn't. We've got John Walker on the left and Baron Zemo on the right. I have no problem whatsoever displaying these four figures standing together. Although it isn't lens distortion, John Walker and Baron Zemo are genuinely that much shorter than Bucky and Cap. Going over Cap's articulation, do bear in mind this is my personal copy, so I'm going to be a touch more careful. Starting off with the head sculpt, there's a ball joint at the base of the neck and another up on top. Combined looking forward to there, looking back to there, which is just okay for flight poses, swivel and pivot side to side. The arms will go up, but I would suggest for maximum range, tuck this shoulder pad underneath the vest rather than going over. Going forward and back, butterfly joint at the shoulder that hinges up and down. Swivel at the bicep, double bend at the elbow going to 90, plus a hinge and swivel for the wrist peg. The torso will crunch forward and back, swivel and pivot, limited by padding. The legs will go forward to there, going out to there, swivel at the upper thigh, soft ratchets at the knee for a double joint going just past 90, a double ball peg for the ankle for forward and back swivel, and pivot side to side. Moving on to the 3 cool and 3 annoying things. The first annoying thing isn't that you can holster the shield on the back, I really like this. It's that when you remove the shield and this plastic clip, there's a really ugly hole. Now, I would have preferred some kind of cap piece. I'm so sorry to plug this hole, but unfortunately, there isn't one. The second annoying thing is a super minor one, trust me, it's probably not going to bug you, but why the wrist peg skin tone rather than red? They should definitely be red to match the gloves, cause when the gauntlet slides up, they're visible, and they kinda stand out. The third annoying thing is, Hot Toys, you really went with this cheap and nasty unpainted grey plastic for the joints on the wings? Why? From the front, visible. from the back visible, and compared to the finish of the rest of the wing, they do stand out like a sore thumb. Leave the wings alone, Justin. I promise. The first cool thing is the articulation on the wings. There are so many joints here. We've got multiple ratchets so they can come in. You can also hinge them up and down on multiple points. Plus, the feathers, they're articulated as well. You can hinge them, you can swivel them, and this one's even on a ball joint. So fingers crossed, if you have a pose in mind, you can pull it off with the wings. The second cool thing, his proportions. He looks so darn real. I have no idea what body they used here, but for Sam Wilson, Hot Toys always use this body. He's got traps, he's got defined shoulders, he's got a V taper to the waist. These proportions, spot on. The third cool thing is the display base. I know, it's boring and hexagonal, but it's a small footprint for a flying character. The reason they get away with that is it's weighted. This is really heavy, so it kind of acts as a counterbalance. When Cap has his wings spread, this should still do the trick. Wrapping up on Hot Toys Captain America from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Going into this, oh man, I was so excited. I'm a massive Sam Wilson fan. I love him as Falcon, but as Cap, he kicks some serious butt. Plus, it does feel like that natural next step and evolution of his character in the MCU. In the comics, Sam Wilson was Captain America. That genuinely is precedent. But I know, still, not everyone was on board with this transition, and not everyone loved the show. Setting all that stuff aside though, in 1/6 scale, I'm fairly certain we can all agree this figure is glorious. This suit may not work super well on screen, but in figure format, it kicks ass. I love the suit. The wingspan is crazy. It has presence. If you have a post-Phase 4 MCU display, this guy will be the centerpiece. No question. I love the sculpt of the wings, the articulation, plus how they're painted. And how they attach is really simple. I thought it was going to be a downright challenge, but it isn't. Plus, the display base is nice and compact, which means in the collection, yes, the wings are wide, but you don't have to worry about the display base. It's not going to eat into your real estate. Then the body is beautifully well proportioned. It genuinely looks like a mini 1/6 scale Anthony Mackie. Plus the suit on top of the body, great mix of textures, great mix of media, and the colors. Need I say more? We've got the navy blue, we've got the silver, we've got the red, and that stark white is poppin'. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Unfortunately, the one big issue, at least in my opinion, is articulation. Now, I don't mind. I'm going to have him in a more stoic character pose, but if you do want him for crazy poses, you might struggle. It's a little bit limited. At the end of this, though, in saying all of that, do I like him? Oh, no, I don't like him. I freaking love this figure. I am so happy with how he turned out. Well done, Hot Toys. Now, I got mine from toyswonderland.com. Link for that is in the description below. They do have installment plans and a reward system. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.